think it's fair to say mobile gaming is not always treated with respect by console and PC players. They think it's for casuals or low effort, and while I don't think that reputation is entirely undeserved, I think phones have done enough to prove they can work as a home for video games. If anything, I think it's the state of mobile gaming that has issues, not the devices themselves. Too many companies treat it like a quick moneymaker with watered down experiences of the real thing, instead of a genuine platform for games that suit the medium. After all, phones can do things consoles cannot, and are better suited to different playing styles and genres. Today, I want to take a dive into Nintendo's roster of franchises, and emerge with 5 series that would suit the medium of mobile gaming very well. I'm not thinking of sales numbers or microtransactions here, just purely treating phones as a platform with different strengths than consoles. Take Pokémon Go. That game took everyone by storm and would have never worked on an actual Nintendo system. That's the kind of game I want to focus on here. So, for example, even if Fortnite or Call of Duty have proven shooters can work very well on mobile, I don't see a reason for Splatoon to make the move. It works perfect on Switch already after all, let's keep it there. We're gonna kick off this list with the true chameleon in Nintendo's stall series. I don't think there's a single video game platform out there where WarioWare couldn't find its home. The entire series has always revolved around using the device in its own fun and unique ways, with smooth moves on the Wii being what I would consider the peak of that philosophy. The amount of crazy ways that game uses the Wii remote is incredible. If you ask me, it shows off its capabilities even better than Wii Sports did. So then, who's to say that it couldn't do the same with your phone? Unlike the Nintendo Switch, your phone probably has a camera, microphone and a touchscreen that actually wants you to use, which are all things WarioWare has proven it can make some absolutely banging games around on the DS and 3DS. While of course a full-fledged game would be ideal, complete with story no matter how flimsy, even a relatively simple microgame collection could be an absolutely amazing get on all phones. I feel like it also suits the nature of the high score based gameplay of WarioWare very well, which could recoup the losses made in the party game department. It's a side of WarioWare I personally have never really delved into, mostly because I don't really see myself booting up my console and game just to try to beat my high score at these short minigames. But on my phone? That's a different story entirely. I mean, beating his high score while you're in the bathroom is exactly how Wario would want it. There's even potential for it to keep updating, constantly adding new sets of microgames, which I can accept would then cost a bit of money, assuming it's nothing outrageous. But I said we wouldn't take the financial side into account too much, so let's move on. No matter how much I love playing on it, even I don't touch my Switch every day. And even if some of you watching this do, surely you must agree with me that you touch your phone even more. There's not a single device, let alone a game console, that has become so ingrained with our daily lives as our smartphones. And so, something I think would work very well as a mobile game is a series which has always encouraged playing daily, or booting it up at different times. Animal Crossing. Now, of course we first need to address the elephant in the room, a certain Pocket Camp. Released in 2017, Pocket Camp is the mobile version of Animal Crossing and qualifies exactly for the type of mobile game I mentioned earlier. It's a watered down version of normal Animal Crossing. No towns, you get a campsite. No villagers, you get visitors. Sure, you can catch bugs and fish, but there's no museum. And most ridiculous of all, the game doesn't use the real life time at all. That's literally the entire reason I'm including it on this list. So, if I haven't made that clear, Pocket Camp is not the same thing as what I propose, which is effectively a full Animal Crossing game, but on mobile devices instead. Now, of course I understand Nintendo won't toss New Horizons on the App Store, let alone whatever the new game in the series is. But something to the level of say Wild World on DS would be more than enough. It's your core Animal Crossing experience with everything you would want, just not as extensive as you'd find it on consoles. It's not watered down, it's just not as grand as the console games are. Subtle difference. I briefly touched on it when discussing WarioWare, but the Nintendo Switch has all but entirely killed Nintendo's great history with the touchscreen. Once an absolute revolution on the DS, it's currently little more than a seldom used function when in handheld mode. I think it's partly responsible for the dip in sales of Mario Maker 2 compared to the first, and it's killed 2 spin-off franchises that I want to resurrect on mobile phones. The first is Kirby's duology of touch platformers, consisting of Canvas Curse on DS and Rainbow Curse on Wii U. Both games rely entirely on the player guiding a ball-shaped Kirby through levels by drawing his path with a stylus. These platforms are called rainbow ropes and use up the ink you have left, forcing you to be considerate when drawing lines. Your ink gauge fills back up when Kirby's on the ground or very slowly when he's in the air. By tapping Kirby, you can either dash or use his copy ability. The games feature ball versions of many iconic Kirby enemies, and Canvas Curse also has appearances from well-known characters like King Dedede and Meta Knight, on top of a slew of returning bosses. These two games honestly feel tailor-made for mobile devices. I can see them ranking on top of the App Store charts with ease. The two games currently have a bit of a story and linear progression to them, so perhaps it will work better on mobile to have large collections of separate levels, like many puzzle games have. Either way though, these games are a match made in heaven with smartphones, and probably the only way this miniseries can ever return. Unless the Switch 2 has a touchscreen of course, but not sure how likely that is. Another series that needs a touchscreen like its oxygen is Pokémon Ranger, a trilogy of games which all appeared on the DS. You've got the original Pokémon Ranger, which is then followed by Shadows of Almia, and finally Guardian Signs. I absolutely adored these games when I was younger. All three of them were top tier for me and perhaps my favorite Pokémon spin-off series of all time. Although competition is strong there, so don't pin me down on that. These games are set in entirely original Pokémon regions, where there are no gyms or even battles. People and Pokémon live together in a more natural way, with Pokémon Rangers, such as your player character, helping to keep the peace in the region. Unlike in the main series, Pokémon aren't caught with Pokéballs, but instead by using something called a capture styler, which involves drawing circles around the Pokémon using the touchscreen. Doing so fills up a gauge, and when full, the Pokémon is added to your party. In these games, parties are temporary. Once you've used the Pokémon to either clear an obstacle or as a helper during a capture attempt, they'll leave your side. Using this as its core mechanic, these games build an entire RPG, complete with a relatively exciting story, interesting towns and landmarks to explore, a full Pokédex to fill up, and tons of side quests long before Legends Arceus brought them into the main series. One fair criticism of the games though, and possibly the reason the series didn't return on 3DS, is that the act of drawing circles with the stylus could really mess up your touchscreen and leave scratches. Also, I don't know if you've ever tried playing this with your finger instead of a stylus, but it doesn't work. When capturing a difficult Pokémon that requires a lot of small circles, it feels like you're shaving your fingerprint right off. Good luck opening your iPhone then. So, the capture mechanics would need a bit of a retouch to be kinder to screens and fingers alike. But in core, this series of games have so much to offer. And just like with Kirby's touch platformers, mobile devices might be the only way we'll ever see this series again. The same cannot be said for my final pick, although it is once again a series that had its peak on Nintendo DS. Makes sense. Out of all of Nintendo's consoles, it has the most similarities with phones, and eventually, those started to eat into the profits of the handheld gaming market big time. Casuals moved from the DS to smartphones and never returned, causing our next series to lose its audience overnight. I'm talking about Nintendogs, the brainchild of Shigeru Miyamoto that was a huge success on DS. However, when it later returned as a launch game for 3DS, now with cats, things were not the same. The 3DS never truly captured the same casual audience the DS did, and Nintendogs plus cats didn't sell remotely as well, prompting Miyamoto to send the dogs to a farm. But maybe the short-lived series could make a comeback on mobile devices. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a more difficult sell than the other games in this video, as I don't think the whole care for an animal simulation genre, basically the Tamagotchi way, is in such a good place right now. Maybe I'm wrong there and the niche is thriving in its own bubble, but I haven't come across it if so. But leave it to Nintendo and Miyamoto of all people to be able to make something truly special within a genre stuck in a rut. His involvement in Pikmin Blooms shows he doesn't feel like he's above mobile games, so perhaps another former passion project of his can get the same treatment. Sort of an honorable mention this, but a game that has suffered a similar fate to Nintendogs is the Brain Age series, whose audience also migrated to phones. But Brain Age still exists, with a game on Switch that didn't set the world on fire. The game also didn't release in the US, with the reason why being a mystery, one I will perhaps tackle another day. Should you really want to play it though, it did release in Europe in English, so if you feel like doing some mental push-ups, you can. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me just end this by saying I don't expect Nintendo to ever release these games on mobile. In fact, I think it's pretty clear they're moving out of the space more and more. Only Pokémon is still adding mobile games, which is second party for the Pokémon company. Nintendo themselves are discontinuing more than they're adding. But with emulators now apparently popping up on app stores, I guess no one's stopping you from turning these series I talked about into mobile experiences yourself. Just be careful with Pokémon Ranger. I wouldn't want you to watch the next one of my videos with a scratch screen. Please consider subscribing if you want to hear me ramble about Nintendo more, and for now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.